Let's explore whether using pineal meditation for magic could backfire. This evening's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. Can you focus on your pineal gland or pineal gland? I'm never sure how to pronounce that word. The individual wrote, I was wondering if it's possible to focus on my pineal gland during meditation. The issue is that I can feel it like I do my other body parts, and thus it is challenging to do so. Now, I mispronounced it. This is can't, not can. Sorry about that, guys. So let me just, there we go. The issue is I cannot feel it like I do my other body parts, and thus it is challenging. Some meditation techniques suggest focusing on your forehead for the third eye, spiritual stuff. But shouldn't focusing on the pineal gland directly be more effective? So let's begin with some broad brushstrokes. But shouldn't focusing on the pineal gland directly be more effective? And the answer is, effective for what? And I'm not trying to be a pain in the ass. I'm not trying to be a smartass. There are lots of trolls on the internet. The moment you ask a question in their little Reddit, they will jump all over you like voles in heat. That's not my intention. My intention is for your journey on the spiritual path to be more productive and more rapid and more enjoyable than mine was. I would love it if you could leapfrog over all the mistakes that I made, and I made an enormous amount. If what we want is to develop our concentration and or anxiety and or aggression, then focusing on your pineal gland is profoundly effective. If, however, you want to increase the pervasiveness of your peace and the power of your love, then it's not effective. So let's look at this through the lens of the Tao Te Ching. Approximately a century before the birth of the Buddha, or I should say the alleged birth of the Buddha, Lao Tzu is said to have composed the 81 poems of the Tao Te Ching. It's a small book. You can read it in a week, and if you wanted to, you could read it every week for a year or two, and you can notice patterns. You can notice that throughout the entirety of the 81 poem text, various attributes of yang and yin are listed hither and yon. But in a while you'll notice that contrary to the commentaries written by stupid white men, the focus, the thrust, the message of the Tao Te Ching is not the reconciliation of yin and yin. Au contraire, the author says quite explicitly to always choose yin. That's a powerful message. But what has that to do with Buddhism? Well, in the Theravadan school, tales were told of Gautama, who was known as the Buddha, and of his wicked cousin Devadatta. And Devadatta's attributes were basically to be, Devadatta pranced about acting as if being rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel was a fine idea. Now, some things that might stick out to you is the idea of being rigid, the idea of being fearful, and the idea of being controlling. This rigidity is what concentration is all about. On the other hand, we've got Gautama, who is the epitome of being flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind, specifically being flexible and being laid back. So if the path of rigidity feeds our controlling tendencies, the path of flexibility helps us to be more laid back. Now, that's not a strong argument. So I think a stronger argument could be made by peering at the same proposition through the lens of neuroscience. When we rely on our medial prefrontal cortex to actively concentrate, and when we rely upon our dorsolateral prefrontal cortex to actively contemplate, something bizarre happens. Our blood seems to collect at the bottom of our limbic system and a tissue known as the amygdala, which seems to function as the seat of both anxiety and aggression. However, now for some good news, when we replace active concentration with the passive mindfulness that comes from accessing our sympathetic nervous system during our inhalation, and when we replace our active contemplation with the passive meditation that comes from accessing our parasympathetic nervous system during our exhalation, that same blood shifts to a hunk of meat a few centimeters behind our forehead. Hunk of meat that I feel looks like a catcher's mitt. The big kids refer to it as the anterior cingulate gyrus. It functions as the hub of our mirror neurons and the seat of empathy and compassion and love. So, the fruit of concentration is crankiness, anxious crankiness with icing on it. The fruit of mindfulness and meditation is peace and love. Thank you, Mr. Kevin. Good evening, Kevin and Jay and Charlotte, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, as well as Teddy and Rue. Oh, I rue the day Teddy tipped over the box of kitty litter. My friends, I look forward to swan diving deep into the fine details with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Okay, so let's celebrate their 20th super on a live stream. I'm not sure who's that. Who? Oh, that's YouTube making a suggestion. Thank you, YouTube. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's, as they said in Celebrity Deathmatch, let's get it on. Welcome to Easy Meditation. Whether we call it Sati Pasati, Dhyana, Mahamudra, Chan, Protozen, Mahasandi, Ati Yoga, Dzogchen, or Trek Show, It's all just mindfulness and meditation. So I'm going to jump ahead to page 20. Okay, here we go. Well, I guess if I was really cool, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I guess I'll do that. Nice. Okay, so let's go over here. And I'm going to hit this button and do some editing, because why should today be different than any other day, eh, kids? Okay, so let's explore. And let's hit copy and ease on down the road. Aha. And let's do another pasty. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. And now it is time for the Easter Bunny. I was supposed to do it like Olympia Dukakis, and now it's time for the Easter Bunny. But instead, I sounded like I was a scary Nazi man. One moment, gotta concentrate. Yes. Do. Hey. Okay, so, kids, let's begin with the figurative practice of the rainbow body. It sounds like reading Rainbow. I can actually hear Geordie LaForge do the reading, LeVar Burton do the reading Rainbow introduction now. So, hey, Scarecrow, how's about a little fire? Okay. Let us explore the possibility that all circumstances of all beings could be as impermanent, could be so impermanent and so interdependent that they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into our form, our body. And so what we're doing is we're not only using our imagination, but we're using our self-centeredness as a dynamo to help us practice the wisdom of interdependence and permanence. Actually, it should be the other way around. Close enough for government work, he said to his microphone. Okay, so here we go. So we're going to take that weird idea. Now, it's not our job to actively visualize. If all we do is play with these words, that's enough. So during our inhalation, let us silently and mentally recite into form. And as we exhale, let us silently and mentally recite all lots melt. The Crow Revenant is here. Good evening, Crow. Let's see. How can I release all my shoulder tension, Lama? I'm not Scarecrow. Okay, I'm sure that's a really witty reference that at this moment is kind of lost on me. So, the next exercise we'll do in about a minute will touch on that. So, let's stick a pin there, but not an acupuncture pin. Okay, so, having passively contemplated into form a lot's melt, we're now going to just kick back. During our inhalation, we're going to kick back and watch the antics of mind as it perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines. And during all the while, we can silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. During our exhalation, we can relax into mind's non-graspable nature as silently and mentally we recite the one-syllable verb ease. So, if at this moment, right now, there is a body part that feels painfully tight, unsustainably rigid, then as we silently and mentally recite this, our perception of that discomfort could come spontaneously to mind. Our central nervous system has not evolved to suffer in silence. Oh no, we are whiny motherfuckers. Or at least we have, each of us has an inner whiny bastard. And so that we give voice to it effortlessly as we inhale. So let us continue with this ease. Oopsie, wrong finger. I like to advance my thumb during the inhalation. More than 99% of tonight's practice is silent. And so I was able to practice this whilst doing brisk walking meditation at about 10 o'clock this morning. Except for the occasional moments when I would take a break to pet a dog, because dogs are my drug of choice. I love cats too, but you seldom see them on a walk. So let's see. Oh, thank you, Crow. So tell me, which part of the world do you call home? Now, let's return to the body. What if our bodies were so impermanent and interdependent that it could feel like they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into our speech? So this is not just, I misspoke, allow me to rephrase it. What if all bodies of all beings that we call forms, what if all forms of all beings were each so impermanent and so interdependent that it could feel like they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into our speech faculty? During our inhalation, let us silently and mentally recite into speech. During our exhalation, let us silently and mentally recite, all forms melt. Now, once again, this is not something that we visualize. These are just words we play with in harmony with our breathing. And let us return to awareness and letting go. Let us pretend that each being's experience of the interpersonal could be presented as communication, both verbal and nonverbal. And that communication, a nickname for that communication was speech. Let us explore what it could be like if all speech of all beings was so impermanent and so interdependent that it was as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into our mind. Into mind, all speech melts. Oh, I am going to swear. I'm going to use the holy quatrain of cussing. I'm going to use words like shit and fuck and piss and damn. And if you don't like them, I might not be the right teacher for you. If you feel that you need someone who, to speaks in an artificial contrivance of pretend purity, I might not be the one for you. So Jared's here. Hey, Jared's always good to visit with you. Jared wrote, may be a complicated question, but what are your beliefs on the afterlife? Maybe that could be a subject for a video of its own. I agree. Sorry if I asked too many questions, but I'm a curious person, and your curiosity is beautiful, Jared. Please don't stop asking questions. Okay, so Crow writes, and also, Lama, I have a friend that's struggling with obsessive thoughts that just pop into his mind. They are negative. How he deal with this? Okay, so I'm going to give you, Crow, I'm going to give you a disclaimer. If your friend feels like these thoughts are driving him to harm others or himself or herself, then your friend needs the help of a professional. I'm happy to help, but I'm a meditation teacher, not a psychiatrist. Having said that, if these obsessive thoughts are just mildly annoying, if they're not putting anyone in danger, then there are two ways to look at these obsessive thoughts. Number one, they could be emblematic of unmet physical needs. If we're not getting enough quality sleep, if we're not drinking enough water, if we're not getting enough fresh air, sunshine, exercise, if we're not eating enough fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, grains, legumes, tubers, and the like, then our brain can get pretty creative. Our brain can start breakdancing, but not in the cool way. So, but if we've ticked all our boxes and we're meeting all our physical needs, there's two things we can do. Number one, we can give voice to those thoughts as we meditate. We can create a safe space. And as we inhale, when we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this, I guess you can't see that. So as we inhale, when we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this, we're creating a safe space for those obsessive thoughts to express themselves. Like giving a child a coloring book and a box of crayons. During our exhalation, when we silently and mentally recite the FREEBIES, when we are letting our parasympathetic nervous system relax, for that's what it's wired to do, we're giving those same obsessive thoughts a vent to release their steam. So when we breathe in, they get to express themselves, and when we breathe out, they get to release their steam. Now, this is not a cure, it's just a coping method. And once again, if these thoughts are destroying someone's peace and possibly their safety, then you need to help them find a professional, a fully qualified professional. So let's see here. Okay, so I haven't listened to Linkin Park actively since the late 90s. So it's far better to visualize harming someone than actually physically harming them. In my life, I found that the more tired I am, the more violent imaginings I have, and the more refreshed I am, the less violent imaginings I have. Now, always I'm keen to notice and release in harmony with my inhalation and exhalation, but that's never a substitute for giving my body the fresh air, sunshine, exercise, healthy food, and rest and water that it requires. So I'm very dissatisfied with this page. I feel like this page is just too hard to read. It's unnecessarily complicated and difficult for you. So I'm going to edit this, not in an effort to make you nuttier than a shithouse rat, but in an effort to make this easier for you. I hope that makes sense. So what I'm going to do right now is go into reveal mode, which sounds rather salacious. And I'm going to hit delete. I'm going to try to hit delete. Okay, so let's go over here. Okay. Better yet. All right, we are moving on, and I'm going to hit cut and paste and page break. And I'm going to hit that button there. I'm going to assert an image. Let's hit pictures, and let's hit Buddhist yoga. Let's hit Kuntu Zangpo. Let's tap Vati, and this button should do it. Okay. All right, I think that makes life much easier. Whoops. Okay, let's say copy. That works much better. So let's see, what do we want to hit now? So let's just take it from the top. Into form, all lots melt. Okay, 1, 2. And now let's go over here. And kick back. Okay, that seems to work. So let's hit that button and jump over here. Let's hit copy. 1, 2. Let's hit paste. Insert, insert, pictures, Kuntu Zangpo, form. Now, the nudity of Kuntu Zangpo and Kuntu Zangmo remind us that the best mindfulness is that which is vulnerable and passive and visceral and random. Into speech, all forms melt. So, quick reminder, form means body, and this is a metaphor reminding us that our bodies are so impermanent that it is as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow lights. And our bodies are so interdependent that it is as if that rainbow light could delightfully absorb into our speech. And now let us rest our mind. I got confused. Okay, let's try that again. Okay. Let us explore the possibility that our speech could be so impermanent as to blissfully melt into a rainbow light, and so interdependent as to delightfully absorb into our mind. And of course, when I mean all our speech, I mean the speech of all beings, of all worlds, real or imagined. Into mind, all speech melts. All right. Let us explore the possibility that all minds of all beings of all worlds, real or imagined, could be so impermanent as to blissfully melt into rainbow light, and could be so interdependent as to delightfully absorb into a vast, empty void. Now, what is a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although tantalizing to the eye, is quite non-graspable to the hand. So for another set of 12 repetitions or rounds, let's play with this ease. And let's continue to play with this and ease for 4 more sets of 16 reps. On second thought, we're short on time, so we're just going to shuffle off to Buffalo real quick. Okay, figurative practice of rainbow bade. There we go. Okay, let's hit paste. Let's practice the central channel yogas of bliss and letting go. That the display is synchronized. So let's begin with the top of our head. Let us, as we breathe in and silently and mentally, let's try this again. As we relax into the silent and mental recitation of the one-syllable verb ease. The crown of our head could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as real or imagined Buddha Vairu Chana comprised only of diamond-colored light. Let us switch gears now. As we breathe in, let us silently and mentally recite the adjective white. As we exhale, let us silently and mentally recite the verb ease. As we breathe in, let us silently and mentally recite the noun space. As we breathe out, let us silently and mentally recite the verb ease. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever suitable om we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as real or imagined Buddha Vairochana comprised only of diamond-colored light. One moment. Aha. And now let us rest the mind. So consider, if you will, this diagram on the left-hand side of the page. Notice how there is a green blotch in the lower abdomen, south of the navel. We can refer to that as the womb, regardless of our gender. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite the noun womb. As we breathe out, we can silently and mentally recite the verb ease. As we breathe in, we can silently and mentally recite the adjective green. And as we exhale, again, we can silently and mentally recite the verb ease. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever experience of dynamism or wind we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was less than defining. As we relax into the exhalation, as we relax into our exhalation, whatever syllable we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as real or imagined Buddha Amoghosedi, comprised only of emerald-colored light. And now let us relax into one set of 16 rounds of awareness and letting go. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever throat we might have noticed during our exhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Buddha Amitabha, comprised only of ruby-colored light. Red, ease. Let us play with the warmth elements. And the Bija mantra Free. Now let us groove into awareness and letting go. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever gut or whatever region behind our navel we might have noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Ratnasambhava Buddha, comprised only of gold-colored light. Gold is. Let us play with the very stable experience known as the earth element. Let us play with the seed syllable, or bija tram. And now we can just kick back and with spontaneous awareness and letting go. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever experience of our heart, whatever heart we might have experienced during our previous inhalation, could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable, as real or imagined Buddha Akshobhya, comprised only of sapphire-colored light. Blue is. Let us play with the moisture of the water element. Let us play with the one-syllable seed or bija mantra, Hung. And let us hang out with Hung Ease for at least a good 16 rounds. Or I should say for an additional 16 rounds. Now let us kick back for an additional 16 rounds of this ease. Hey, Jared, let me know if you're still there. Is it Jared or is it Crow? Jared or Crow, let me know if you're still there. Okay, let's see here. Let's hit paste. And let's hit that one. Excellent. So, let us turn our attention now to the conventional practice of love and letting go. Whoops. There we go. All right. All right. So let's have that. Let's train and love as we breathe. So let us love as we breathe in. We can silently and mentally recite Bijou-wise. As we exhale, we can silently and mentally recite For All Minds. And here's how it works. We could wish that each mind of each being now possess the enlightened wisdom of a real or as the of the as the of the mind of a real or imagined Buddha, symbolized by a bija, or one-syllable mantra. We can now kick back. Let us lovingly wish that each being's experience of the interpersonal, or speech, was as loving as a real or imagined Buddha's speech, symbolized by mantra. And now let us rest in awareness and letting go. Let us lovingly wish that each mind... Oopsie, let's try that again. Let us lovingly wish that each form or body of each being now possessed the health depicted in Buddhist statuary, like that of a Buddhist archetype, or if you prefer Tibetan, yadam. And now let's rest. Okay, let us lovingly wish that each circumstance of each being, of each world, real or imagined, was now enjoyed the safety and good fortune depicted by a Buddha's real or imagined paradise or pure land or vati, comprised only. So that didn't come out as trippingly as I would have liked. Let's try that again. Each circumstance or lot of each being, of each world, real or imagined, now enjoy the safety and good fortune depicted in Buddhist paintings. Or... depicted in Buddhist paintings depicting a Buddha's real or imagined paradise or pure land or vati. So we're going to take all those words and squeeze them into the phrase vati boon for all lots. Now our job is not to actively concentrate. Our job is to silently, mentally, and passively recite these words in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation. And now let us kick back with awareness and letting go. Okay, let's see. That's page 42 control, G42. That's a go-to. Best to fix that. Control end, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let us seal this evening's practice by percussively chanting Love and Letting Go's wishes for universal enlightenment and well-being. May all minds of all beings lucid yet void now be as enlightened as a Buddha's mind symbolized by a one-syllable bijam. May all speech of all beings resounding yet void now be as loving as a Buddha's speech symbolized by a multi-syllable mantra. May all forms of all beings sensual yet void now be as healthy as a Yidam type depicted in Buddhist statuary. May all lots of all beings appearing yet void now be as fortunate as a pure land of law depicted in Buddhist paintings. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 and 2/3 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.